the possible burial place of biblical Joseph the Righteous of Egypt, Joseph of the coat of many colors, one of the 12 sons of Jacob, who was sold by his brothers to Egyptian slavery, who became the second, after the Pharaoh of Egypt, the second highest, most powerful man. He died and was buried there, but during the Exodus with Moses, the tribes of Israel brought Joseph's tomb with them out of Egypt. Describing the fragments of the statue found within the tomb, one Egyptologist argued that they allowed the identification of the nationality of a person interred within this who would have been a Kyril Palestinian, either Joseph or somebody who had a career remarkably similar to the righteous Joseph of Israel. While the legendary biblical patriarch Joseph, whom the book of Genesis describes becoming a vizier to the Pharaoh of Egypt, let's remember it was during the famine in the land that Joseph interpreted the Pharaoh's dreams and helped Egypt stave off the famine. So he was the second after the Pharaoh, apparently made the children of Israel swear that they left the land of Egypt. When they left, they would take his relics, his bones, that is, with them to the promised land. And that's what they did. He foretold them that after 450 years they would be leaving in an exodus. He foretold that a man would lead them out, Moses. Now, so they took them they took his tomb with them. And while there actually is a funerary monument known as Joseph's Tomb located in the West Bank, it seems that his actual resting place may be located in a different place, according to the Daily Express reports, citing a 2019 documentary called Patterns of Evidence. The newspaper points that the discovery of a grand palace in the eastern delta of the Nile, which was apparently built on top of a house that was common to the northern Syria, from which Joseph's ancestors sailed. Quote, when somebody gets a palace like this given to them, it means they are being honored for what they've done for the state, end quote. Egyptologist Dr. David Roll said, during arguing that the occupant of said palace was not Egyptian, quote, in the garden behind the palace, the archaeologists found 12 main graves with memorial chapels on top of them. Think about it. How many sons did Jacob have? How many tribes were there? There were 12. What's also amazing is the palace had a facade, a portico with 12 pillars. So you've got 12 sons, 12 tribes, 12 pillars, and 12 tombs. This is astonishingly amazing. Presenter Tim Mahoney also pointed out that one of the graves was actually a pyramid tomb, which suggested that the person interred within was granted a king's burial. Quote, inside the chapel of the tomb was a statue. What we know from the statue is that this man had red hair, he had pale yellow skin, he had a throwing stick across his shoulder, and on the back of his shoulder we see the faintest remains of paint, colored strips from a multicolored coat, he added. This description led Dr. Roll to postulate that the tomb belonged to none other than Joseph, because it matches his story in the Holy Bible. Quote, the multicolored coat was a gift which shows that he was the favorite of the father. It almost becomes his insignia, this coat. It's the thing we remember about him most of all. There is nothing else like this in the whole of Egyptian history, he said. His sentiment was also echoed by Egyptologist Charles Alling, who suggested that the examining the fragments of the statue allowed one to identify the nationality of the tomb's owner. Quote, 3 things, the hairstyle he has, which we often call the mushroom hairstyle, the weapon he carries over his shoulder, a throwing stick, and a coloration of the skin, it's yellow, he said. In other words, he was pale, red-headed, pale. All those things indicate that this would have been a Syro-Palestinian. Either it is Joseph or somebody who has a career remarkably similar to him. It's an incredible find, end quote. This is on Sputnik News. This is astonishingly fantastic. Fantastic, especially the 12 tombs with the 12 pillars, and all buried in the same area. Please leave your comments. Thank you. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.